When a class contains objects of another class, such as data fields, the relationship is called a whole part relationship. So what is actually happening is that we are talking about composition. We are taking an object and we are describing what it is composed of. So whole part, so we've got whole, meaning we've got our whole chair, and our whole chair is composed of different parts. It's composed of the back of the chair, it's composed of our four legs, and it is composed of a seat that you sit on. That is why composition is a whole part relationship. Just from this example, you can actually see that you already encounter composition in everyday life. It's basically the way physical objects like the chair is actually built. So what we're actually doing is we've got some elements like the back, the seat, and the legs. These elements are all combined together, but in most cases, the chair is not a single discrete object that forms from one piece of material. So I'm sure you have seen a chair that has been formed from one piece of material. It is basically just a plastic chair that you usually find in your classroom, and you can sit on this plastic chair. It's one discrete object. So there is no whole part, it's just a whole object. So this is when it is a discrete object. So composition is about expressing relationships. See, our relationship between objects and how they fit together and how they are composed together to form a whole object. In short, when a class contains objects of another class in data fields, the relationship is called a whole part relationship or composition. An example, if we're talking about a class, date, that contains a month, day, year. These are our fields. They are our attributes that describe what makes up a date. Our employee class has two date fields to hold our employee birth date and hire date, correct? Does birth date contain a month, day, year? Yes. Does hire date contain month, day, year? Yes. So employee class has two date fields to hold the employee's birth date and hire date. So what we've actually basically done is we have placed a class object within another class object. So we placed two date objects within our employee class object. So what we're doing now for composition, we are saying that it has a relationship because one class has an instance of another, which the has a forms the basis for composition. To better explain this is, let's talk about our chair. We can say, does the chair has a back? Yes, the chair does have a back. The chair has legs. Yes, it does, has a leg. The chair has a seat. Yes, it does. But we don't say legs has a chair. No. Back has a chair. No. The chair is the full-on object, the whole part. Remember? And the whole part, it's always the whole, which is our big object, and our parts, which is my leg or my back or my seat, etc. Those are all my parts, and they form different classes. The back class is different to the seat class, is different to the leg class. That's why I say chair has a back, seat, leg, etc. So let's have a look at the diagram of a typical composition relationship here. Here we have our department class that's got department number, department name, and supervisor. Supervisor here has a relationship to employee, right? Because employee, supervisor is an employee. Employee might be the whole. This is my whole. And my supervisor object here is part of the employee class, correct? So it has a relationship or a whole part relationship here. So I'll write that for you so you can actually see it has a or a whole part relationship. Here, the date class has 3 fields here, and those 3 fields form part of birth date and hire date. So which one is my whole and which one is my part? Well, birth date is my whole, and whereas date here, my month, date here, these form my parts. So that is why I say that birth date has a relationship to month, day, and year. Those are my different parts. So I have my whole, my wholes, and these are my different parts, month, day, year. So the parts over here will cease to exist if the whole ceases to exist, which refers back to composition. Note that aggregation, I don't know if you remember the word aggregation, which discussed in our previous course. Aggregation is when parts can exist without the whole, such as your plastic chair, for instance, that has been molded. It's got no parts, it's just whole. That is aggregation. So another example would be for aggregation would be when we have a chair and a person sitting on the chair. This person sitting on the chair, this forms a whole part relationship here because we have the person sitting on the chair. You can destroy the chair here, so this can be destroyed, but you can't destroy the person. Okay, so the person cannot be destroyed. That is where we have aggregation. Now, we don't cover this too much in this course. All you need to really know is that composition is a technique to create more complex objects. So your classes can contain objects that are members of other classes. So we're talking about a membership or a relationship between classes. So an application might contain a statement such as the following, which outputs the year of the highest paid employee in sales department, which was hired. So what we're going to do is we're going to output our sales, which is our department class object. Then we're going to have our get highest paid employee method, which is defined in our department class. Then we're going to dot get hire date, which defines the employee class. Dot get year, which was defined in our day class. So you can create department class with an array of employee objects, those working in departments like sales, marketing, publishing, etc. And then what you do is you just have a method named get highest paid employee that returns the single employee object. In employee class, we have the method named get hire date. And that get hire date returns a date object, which basically is your employee's hire date, for instance. So the date class has a method that returns year portion of the date, and the sales is your object created from your department class. So as you work with object-oriented programming languages, you will learn to manage these more complex issues.